Thank you everyone for joining BioPharm's webinar. Today we'll be discussing the Oracle Argus Safety and how one can plan for the new individual case safety reporting standard known as E2B R3 and the upcoming ICSR reporting changes. My name is Andrew Mitchell, and I'm the European Safety Management Practice Lead at BioPharm Systems. I've spent the last 9 years implementing Argus Safety and EDC systems at a varied selection of companies, including working for Relsis as a European project manager in the Global Professional Services team. All in all, I've managed over 30 implementation projects. The agenda for today is as follows. First, acknowledgement for some of the information in these slides. Then we'll dive into IDMP, the new standard for the identification of medicinal products. That's to be implemented alongside the E2B R3 reporting standard, and they exist together. Then we'll be discussing some highlights in the current status of E2B R3 before looking at the differences between the existing E2B R2 XML standard and the E2B R3 HL7 format. The European Medicines Agency also have additional requirements, and these will be documented in the European Implementation Guide, so we'll be discussing those along with how one of those additional requirements could potentially be implemented in Argus. The second half of the presentation will start on our predictions of the Oracle product roadmap for their case safety management systems. These are our predictions. These are not official from Oracle and should be taken as such. We'll then be looking at how companies can plan ahead and follow that with a question and answer session, for which we're very fortunate to have on this call Kapil Kedia from Oracle, the Argus Principal Product Manager. And then we'll end with a wrap-up and a mechanism for feedback. If anybody has any questions during this webinar, you're all on mute, so please can you put them in the chat window, and then we can deal with them during the Q&A session. Thank you very much. So firstly, I'd like to give acknowledgements. This webinar includes information shared during the European Medicines Agency's meeting that was held in London on the 5th of April 2011. These meetings are organized by the DIA, and if anybody is very interested in this topic, I would recommend attending some of these meetings. These slides will be available on our website within 24 hours, and if you have any questions, I'll give you details of how you can get in contact with us. So to start with, I want to discuss IDMP, which is the ICH M5 guidelines. There is a need to accurately identify medicinal products involved in adverse events. In order to do that, we need unique and unambiguous identification of the active substance of a product, the units of measurement, the ingredients, the dosage form, the units of presentation, and the route of administration. And this will be required for marketed products and optional for investigational products. So instead of your product just being a company product as you have in your system now, or for non-company products just being WHO drug products, where possible there will be structured capturing of product information. The IDMP standards, there are 5 standards. The first standard is the medicinal product information, which is known as the MPID. This is what in Argus you'd call your license. It's the trade name of your product. Then the second standard is the pharmaceutical product information, the PID. This is your global company product and the identification of that. And then the last 3 standards are for identification of substances, identification of pharmaceutical dosage forms, units of presentation, routes of administration and packaging, and then units of measurement. One second. So the timeline for IDMP, the concept paper was approved in 2003, November 2003, and that was the ICH M5 Data Elements and Standards for Drug Dictionaries. Then in 2005, the guideline was released for initial consultation. Before, in 2006, the strategy was changed, and the decision was taken to develop this in collaboration with the Standards Development Organization, SDOs. The current status is that the final draft international standard, FDIS ballots, results are due in the third quarter of 2011, and that's when the publication is expected to follow. So that's when IDMP will become an international standard. So this is happening at the same time as E2B R3, which is what most people are aware of. Now, E2B R3 is the new ICSR standard. Its aim is to improve pharmacovigilance reporting across the ICH regions. This is brought on by advances in pharmacovigilance science, changing requirements, and a need to improve consistency, accuracy, and the detail of information in adverse event reporting. Formal consultation began in 2005, and like IDMP, but in 2008, the decision was taken to jointly develop E2B R3 with SDOs. There are several constraints as well. The FDA requires it to meet HL7 standards, while Europe and Canada require the standard to be either ISO or CEN, so that it can be recognized and incorporated into their legislation. The ICH are developing an implementation guide on how to use the standard, and the European Medicines Agency have their own additional requirements, so are releasing an additional implementation guide for EU. Some of the highlights of E2B R3 is a single report for multiple recipients. So you can generate one file that can be sent to more than one recipient. Additionally, the focus of E2B R3 is that the structure of that file, of your reports, is such that it will be accepted by everybody. So while you may send slightly different information to a regulatory agency as what you're sending to a licensed partner or maybe the Japanese authorities, the structure of the file is the same. The European additional requirements and the US vaccine information will be added onto the information in your E2B R3 report that's going, for example, to the FDA or to another regional or national authority. Those agencies are expected to ignore the information that's not relevant to them. Whether that's going to happen or whether you'll choose to send different reports to different individual recipients is going to be for companies to decide. Now, one of the challenges is that sending a single report to multiple recipients will generate multiple acknowledgement messages. So your single report may be accepted without warnings by the French authority, but the German authority may want something slightly different because their causality calculation expectations are different. Another highlight and significant change of E2B R3 is the inclusion of case attachments. You can add PDFs of your literature articles, lab results, etc. And here again, you may not wish to be sending the same report to multiple recipients. because maybe you'll send different source documents to different authorities or license partners. For CROs, they're likely to want to send everything to sponsors, while for sending to regulatory authorities, often companies only want to send the minimum required information. IDMP, the structured drug information, is included in E2B R3, as mentioned earlier. Another significant change is the concept of an amendment report. So instead of just sending a follow-up report, you can send what's called an amendment report for where there are changes following internal assessment, or where there is simply a correction, like a typo, and you want to send the authorities or your reporting recipient an updated report. Now, it is worth noting that if your internal assessments are causing your reports to be upgraded and you send too many of those, that could trigger a risk-based inspection. On the other hand, if you're not sending any upgrades or you're not sending any amendments, then it would look like you're not reviewing your data. So there is a balance to be struck. Additionally, E2B R3 reports will be based on reaction and event level seriousness, not case level seriousness. And there's a lot of additional data elements, such as the drug taken by father, drug taken beyond expiration dates, batch loss tested and found within or not within specifications, counterfeit product information, overdose information. So there's significantly more information that you'll be required or requested to send and able to send than what exists in the current E2B reporting standard. The current status of E2B R3 is that we're in the middle of the final draft international standard ballot, and those results are due out in June 2011, with publication expected in around then as well, following that, of the actual standard. The last ballot round, the US vaccine various reporting requirements were added. The ICH implementation guides and the EU implementation guides are running in parallel. Finalization of the ICH guide is due in June 2011. Then there'll be a 6-month consultation period, and approval is due out in the second quarter of 2012. The same is for the European implementation guide. Additionally, it's important to bear in mind the 2010 European pharmacovigilance legislation, because this is in parallel to these changes. 90-day reporting of all non-serious adverse events may be required by some European national authorities already by June 2012. And single reporting to the European medicines agencies is expected by 2015, once the EudraVigilance system has been audited in 2014. So once that happens, then instead of reports being submitted to the national authorities via the EudraVigilance gateway, reports will just be sent directly to EMEA. But that is some time away. Until then, and certainly the 90-day reporting of non-serious adverse events is a significant change for many organizations, especially smaller pharmaceutical companies or CROs who maybe are processing 1 to 500 cases a month, but only 10 of them are require E2B reporting. And for companies using the EV web trader, you may wish to consider whether the load is going to mean you should be looking to implement electronic gateway. But we'll get into that in more detail later. So this is a look at how the current E2B R2 XML structure compares with the E2B R3 HTML7 messaging structure, which is metadata driven. So as touched on earlier, the EU implementation guide has additional requirements to the ICH. Those requirements include reporting on advanced therapies, reporting on medicinal product defects. They want additional information on counterfeit medicine, so they want to know if the counterfeit medicine was suspected or confirmed. For drug overdose, and they want additional information as well. They will want to know if it was an intentional or accidental drug overdose. They would like additional information on drug misuse or off-label usage. There are some additional elements that they're adding to the message. So the study information, some of the study information fields will be repeatable. You can have a study registration number and study registration country repeatable so that you can include the UDRAC and the national numbers in your reports. Additionally, the drug characteristic value, instead of just having suspect, concomitant, and interacting, they'll be adding an additional value for drug not administered. And this will be for use during clinical trials and medication errors. The additional information that's included in the E2B R3 file will not lead to rejections in other regions. And will only be loaded by the European Medicines Agency, the pharmacovigilance system, and the similar kind of changes, additions are expected for the FDA vaccine reporting, and we may also see the same additions for Japan. One of the changes that I wanted to look at in slightly more detail is historical drug information. This is for elements B18 and B110.8, so relevant past drug history and relevant past drug parent history. The EMEA would like this information to be treated identically to suspect, concomitant, and treatment products. So they would like to include the substance or specified substance, the drug dosage information, the pharmaceutical dose form, and the route of administration. Now, how we would see that being added in Argus, just as an example, is instead of the relevant drug history being captured on the screens that it's captured today, we would see historical drugs being captured in a similar manner to you capture suspect, concomitant, and treatment drugs. So you would be able to capture that same information, and that would require less changes to the app. Now, how will this impact you, and what are our predictions for the Oracle roadmap? We know that E2B R3 functionality is scheduled for 2013 release. It cannot come out before that because the standards won't be available. In 2013, products under the Applications Unlimited program will be Oracle Airs and Empirica Trace. What that currently means is that there won't be new additional development for those products, so we can expect those products not to support functionality for E2B R3. Additionally, products under sustained support, so Oracle, which in 2013 is likely to be Oracle Argus Safety 5X and prior versions, those are also likely not to have service packs released that will support this new functionality. Products under premium support in 2013, we expect to be version 6 on onwards, and the scheduled new release based on current behavior of Oracle is for Oracle Argus Safety version 9 to come out, and that would have this new functionality. So this is certainly something to be taken seriously into consideration for companies that are either not on Argus or are considering when they should be switching systems, or if they should switch systems, and for companies that are using Argus Safety and looking at what their plans are for the future. So for planning ahead, smaller companies should consider investing in automated third-party gateway systems such as Axway Interchange, which was formerly Cyclone, or B-Trade, which is a cheaper option, though it doesn't integrate quite as nicely into Argus, rather than relying on the EV Web Trader if they're going to be submitting a lot more reports. And for having an E2B R3 compliance system, you are looking to want that in place in 2014, and there really are only expected to be 2 products on the market that will support this functionality, and that will be Oracle Argus Safety and Aris Global's Aris G. So companies will need to either upgrade to a compliant version or switch systems. And if they are looking to switch systems and a migration is required, it's recommended to do this early to reduce the size of the project risk and spread the financial impact of these compliance changes. It's far easier if you're an existing ARIS client or Empirica Trace client and wish to move, especially if you're not a small organization, to do this to an earlier version of Argus, like 7.0 was released a few weeks ago, and then look at upgrading and having a more minor upgrade than a large-scale project just before compliance to E2B R3 is required. So I know that we're only talking about 2014, but for many companies, these projects can take 18 months plus, and some of you will already be looking at your budgets for next year. So if there are any questions, this is the time, and I'll also unmute Kapil for him to be available for comment. We had one question on 90-day reporting for non-SAEs not being applied for pre-registration clinical trials, and yes, that is our understanding as well. Also, this presentation does not cover EPSURs, so please limit questions to what's relevant for this particular topic, the individual case safety reporting. Though there will be changes with PSURs not required for some European authorities once the non-serious adverse events are being reported. For companies that are currently using AIRS, you can continue to use that, but it is on the Oracle Applications Unlimited platform, so we do not expect this functionality to be available for that. You will still be able to use AIRS, but Oracle aren't expected to be bringing out any additional development other than bug fixes. There is a question about multiple acknowledgements for single reports. How that works is that when you send an E2B R3 report, you can choose multiple recipients. So you can generate it. Well, we don't know how the application will behave, but the expectation is that you can schedule a report to go to multiple authorities, and that single file will leave your gateway and be received by multiple agencies, and then you would get an acknowledgement back from each of those agencies that received that file. And that's what you would base your submission on. You would likely have a single reporting profile for how you map to those files, but you could choose to decide to send, for example, different source documents to different recipients. Then there was a question on IDMP. Yes, IDMP is a requirement for E2B R3 and will need to be implemented. E2B R3 requires the product information to be structured. FDA timelines, FDA do not have an announcement yet on their timelines. There is an Information Day meeting, I believe on the 12th and 13th of May, so we may have more information on that. The European Medicines Agency is expected to be, once implementation, 18 to 24 months after the implementation guides are out. Though they'll be pushing for 18, but we're all realistic. We saw what happened last time. We don't have any information how long E2B M2 will still be supported, though there will be one of the complications is how to convert E2B R3 messages to E2B R2 and back and forth, and there are guidelines for that already. So for companies that have in-house systems or are using E2B R2 for integrations, that functionality will still be around. Oracle had a presentation earlier today, and their expectation is that E2B R2 will still be in use for the 2 to 5 years after the implementation of E2B R3. But we can certainly expect the European Medicines Agency to be wanting mandatory E2B R3 submission, 18 months to 2 years after the guidelines, the implementation guidelines are finalized. Kapil, can you hear me? I mean, I should be unmuted.
Yes, I'm here. Can the team hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Do you want to comment about the plans for August and for, especially if there are any plans for customers on AIRS or other products?
So basically, from an August, I can't comment on AIRS because I'm not dealing with the AIRS team, but I can definitely get information if required for team members or clients who are specifically on AIRS. From an August perspective, we are, as Andrew mentioned, waiting for the final regulation to come up because agreed that they're in their final draft implementation cycle, but if something changes, we want to make sure that there are no surprises. As per a slide, June 2012 is when EMEA or the regulations E2B R3 come into play, and then we'll have 18 to 24 months before companies need to be compliant. So we've already done the analysis, we've already done the technical impact on how do we need to update Argus interchange module, because interchange module is the electronic submission module within the Argus Safety Suite, and we will keep the team posted. So once the regulations are finalized, we will publish white papers as we've done before for other various regulations which come into play, and those will be posted and sent to each customer by a support team.
Kapil, for earlier versions of Argus, when you were upgrading, it was a step-by-step upgrade. So, for example, you'd go from 4.1.2 through the different hotfixes and service packs. But for these later versions, there are now direct upgrades. Is this going to continue? So, for companies, for example, that are maybe implementing Argus version 7, will there be a far simpler process to upgrade to a version that comes out which will be compliant, or will they need to jump through all the hoops?
They will have to upgrade for sure, and I can't comment on what version and what what the point release would be at that point of time, because we might have internal hot fixes or whatever it might be. But we will give them an upgrade through the Argus database upgrade application, which we support or which we provide out of the box, and they can quickly jump through X version to a Y version. And if you have on previous versions, we also provide all the previous releases to come to a specific release which is required from a 7.0 perspective, and then they can automatically upgrade.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Kapil? Okay, no questions. Thank you. So thank you everyone for attending. This has been a bit shorter than expected. I probably spoke too fast. But this presentation will be available for download from our BioPharm website within 24 hours. And if anybody has any feedback or wishes to contact us, they can reach me directly, or we can be contacted via our sales telephone numbers. And these are the details.